guys, and welcome back to Opal and Mint. I am Ashley, and welcome to day 21 of 24 days of Opal and Mint. This year is coming to a close, and it's kind of crazy. Today's video is actually going to be a two-part video. Part one is today, and part two will be next year, just only in a couple of weeks. I'm going to explain why in just a second, but first, let me tell you what I'm doing today. So today, I am taking an old painting and redoing it. So a couple of years, it's been 2, maybe 3 years ago, I painted my parents' house for them for Christmas. Well, that was when I first started painting, and since then I have learned a lot and I know a lot more. And so I wanted to redo that painting for them for Christmas. So I started this yesterday. I've been working on this for 2 days. It is not done yet, but this video has to go up on Saturday. And I want to take a little bit more time to finish this well before Christmas, which is on Tuesday. So there will be a part 2 of seeing this finished product, but I'm going to explain to you my approach, how I'm doing it differently than I painted it before. I'm going to show you the before painting, and then you'll get to see the process of me painting up until this point, and then come back for part 2 where you'll see the finished painting. It's not finished yet. I'm a little nervous. It's looking good, but I am nervous that each step I do, I'm like, oh, please don't mess it up. Please don't mess it up. I've put so many hours into this already, but it is already looking a lot better than my first painting. So I am excited. All right, so let me first explain. My first painting of their house, I spent quite a bit of time on it as well, but I didn't know the things that I know now. So one, I sketched it. I looked at a reference photo and sketched it by hand. Took me hours and hours, and getting the exact dimensions and perspective and everything on a house, not the easiest thing. So let me show you. Yeah. Here's my original sketch. Actually, let me show you on the paper. I'll show you this. Okay. Can you see that? Oh, I have footage of it. Okay, so here you're seeing the original sketch. This view of the house is a little bit more head-on, and the new one is a little bit more looking up at it. I think it makes it look a little bit more grand with this view. But you can see my original, and it also was like kind of off to the side, and so things just don't look quite even, and it's just, it was fine, it was okay, but I wasn't super happy with the result of my first painting. So let's dive into how I painted it now. First of all, instead of sketching by hand, which I totally think you should learn how to sketch, and I'm not saying that you should not sketch things by hand. I don't know why I'm saying by hand. Of course you're using your hands, but without tracing. Does that make sense? Anyways, but I want you to know that, one, there's no shame in tracing things. 2, it's a huge time saver. So there's a couple of different methods you can trace your photo and then copy it to your paper, which I wanted a pretty big painting, so I didn't have a printout of the house that big. So I used a projector. I do have a projector I got for this purpose, for projecting things on walls or paper that I can trace out. We actually use it a lot for watching movies in our house now, but you'll be seeing in the footage here of me projecting the photo down onto the paper. Now, I didn't sketch it directly onto my watercolor paper because, one, I want to touch my watercolor paper as little as possible. And so sketching it and having my hands all over the paper and everything, the more you handle your paper, the more you're risking getting oils on the paper and contaminating the surface to where your watercolor may not react and work like it should. So projected the image down onto actually the back of my first sketch, of the house. I still had it. And then I transferred that sketch onto tracing paper. So I have a tracing paper version of this sketch. So if for some reason I need to redo this, I have this that I can just transfer to a new sheet of watercolor paper. So then from there, I transferred it to the watercolor paper I'm using. So this is another thing that is different. The first time I painted this, I used Arches watercolor paper. And there's nothing wrong with Arches. It's just not my preferred paper. It's too textured for me. It's too rough. It's not my favorite. And so having a paper that you love and you know how it works and it's just a little bit easier to work with, once you find that paper that you like, it's going to make your painting so much easier. So I am using the Fabriano soft press paper. It comes in sheets of 22 by 30, I believe. And so I just use this entire page. I put my swatches of the colors on the side, so it's all here. I've got space on the side here to test out techniques and test out color combinations if I need to. And from there, I will cut my final size from this giant sheet. I personally don't like to cut the paper and then paint it. I like to have room on the edges and then cut it in. Just be aware of where your paper will be so you don't put anything important outside of those lines. So yeah, have an entire sheet and I put my trace paper down and carbon paper under it and transferred the sketch. Now, if you have never transferred a sketch with tracing paper and carbon paper, anywhere you touch is going to transfer carbon. So you have to be very careful not to lean on the paper where the carbon paper is. So I do use a ruler in this. There's a lot of straight edges on this house. And I used a ruler when sketching those down, but I also use the ruler to steady my hand and I would put my hand on the ruler instead of the paper where the carbon paper is. So I use that a lot to try to minimize any extra carbon marks. So after getting the sketch traced and transferred onto this watercolor paper, I will like lift it up and down to see if I've missed anything. And I did actually miss a couple lines I found while painting. But luckily those were fixed. But just look back and forth to see if you are missing any lines, try to get everything, and then you're ready to paint. So again, I'm using the Fabriano soft press paper, and the brushes that I'm using today, I decided I wanted to use my favorites. So I have two sizes of the Creative Mark Rhapsody Kolinsky Sable. These are natural hair. I'm using a size 6 and a size 2. The 6 for slightly larger areas I need to fill in, and the size 2 because there's lots of little bitty details on this. I also used for like the sky and grass and stuff, I used my Tintoretto size 8 mop brush. I don't know if they call it a quill or a mop, but same thing. So I used this for the sky and such. And then I also have the Tintoretto Travel Round size 6. So I'm using these 4 brushes. So far, I think that's all I have used. And then the paints that I'm using are, of course, my Daniel Smith paints. Ooh, I don't want to drip paint onto there, but I'll be showing you footage of this. So I swatched out the colors that I thought I wanted to use on the side here. So we've got, with the browns, we have Buff Titanium, red, transparent red oxide, Tiger's Eye, which I actually haven't used a ton of it, but some, Burnt Umber, Van Dyke Brown, and then I have Sodalite Genuine Neutral Tint. I don't think I've actually used the Sodalite Genuine. I have used the Neutral Tint. Hematite, because it's very granulating. We use that in the rocks some. I need to remember that for some of these rocks. Lunar Black, another granulating color, giving me some texture. And Piemontite Genuine. In the greens, I have Serpentine Genuine, one of my favorites from Daniel Smith. I also have Undersea Green. Another one that I didn't swatch but did end up using is Sap Green. I wanted to vary up my greens a little bit. I have added a little bit of yellow here and there into the browns to give me some different shades of brown and warmer browns. I used New Gamboge and quinacridone gold. But yeah, I think that's all the colors. I did use a little bit of quinacridone rose for the roses and the rose bushes. And I think that's all the colors that I ended up using. So there are the swatches. Let's get into actually painting this. When I first sat down to look at this, I decided I wanted to start with the sky. When I'm painting a lot of times, something like this, I like to start with the back and come forward. So the background, so the sky. I used, the blues. I didn't tell you the blues. I used a mixture of cerulean and phthalo. Yes, I used phthalo. A mixture of cerulean and phthalo blue. A light wash of that all over the sky. I lifted up some clouds here and there, left some lighter spaces. Just a nice, simple sky. And then it was time to start painting the house. Did I do the grass or the house first? I don't remember. I think I did the roof first. I don't know. But filling in, I did the first layer, filling in just colors, light colors everywhere. So filled in the roof and the beams, the side of the house. Just getting that initial layer of color down, keeping in mind where on the beams there's some more red tones, where it's more neutral and more cool. Trying to pay attention to some of those things. I am using the photo as a reference, but I'm not doing exactly the same. There's a couple of things that I changed from the photo to my painting. But when I paint, I like to start with the things that I am most comfortable with. Also, aside from going back to front, I also, like in the house itself, I'll start with the things that I'm most confident and comfortable in, kind of get into the painting session, get into the mindset of painting and problem solving when things go wrong. So I did a lot of the things that I am comfortable with, and then I started going in with the I did the windows, I did the rocks on the side, the steps, I can't remember. But just adding in layers and details. So light washes first, adding in some different textures, adding in those rocks on the house. I put some texture on the roof and the beams. The beam texture was my favorite. All that wood texture, for some reason, I really enjoyed that. It looks like I still need to add some texture on the rocks on the chimney. Seeing that, looking at it right now. I am not done with this. I'm still in the middle. I put the bushes off for a while, but I finally did them, and I actually was pleased. They were a little bit easier than I thought they were going to be. There's some tables and chairs on their porch too that I have kind of left there. I'm a little nervous to put those in there. But those, and then the rocks across the front of the house, the big rocks, those, for some reason, rocks terrify me. And I don't know why, because I see other people paint them and it looks so simple, but then when I paint them, for some reason, they just don't end up looking right. It's like I've got a mental block against rocks for some reason. So I'm slowly building in color on these rocks, but I am cautiously approaching it very slowly. And I don't want to rush it, which is why I want to do this in 2 parts, because if I try to rush through and get this done today, so the video can go up tomorrow, I don't want to end up being unhappy with the rocks. So I'm going to take my time on that. I still have a few days till Christmas, so I have time to step back a second and then come back to it. So yeah, I love, so far, I'm loving the rock wall, like the little rocks. I feel like I can handle those. And I'm actually really, really excited about the bushes. And then on their porch, there's some wooden slats that are coming down off of the porch. And I actually enjoy doing that texture as well. So the door has some details in the glass that I haven't painted yet. I'm debating on whether I'm going to. Because they're so fine and I don't want to mess it up. I feel like I should though. So that's another thing I'm just kind of waiting to see if it needs to be put there. show you what it currently looks like. I'll talk through what else I need to, well, you can't see that, can you? Let me see. Can we do a close-up here? It's a little bit bright, but hopefully it's okay. I'll show you the top-down view of it. That's what I'll put in here. But anyways, I still have some bushes to do on the left side of the house. I was doing that dark, that's their like screened in front porch, or their screened in outdoor room over there. And so it's just, it's kind of like a black hole there. And I was doing that before the bushes in front of it. So I need to do those bushes and the rocks and the patio furniture, and then any other details I have missed. But I'm hoping it turns out good. I'm hoping that my dad likes it. I know that I was not happy with the first painting, and it was fine for my skill level at the time. I just started painting, so it wasn't bad, but I have learned so much since then. So if you haven't ever redone a painting that you did years ago, I highly recommend to see. You kind of can see your skill level change. You can see the growth that you might not, when you're painting from day to day, you might not notice the growth, but when you sit down and repaint something, you'll see how much your skill level has grown. So wish me luck on the rest of this. This video goes up tomorrow, so the painting will still probably not be done when this video goes up. But wish me luck on these rocks in the front. Oh, I'm so nervous. All right, guys, but I think that is going to be the end of this video. Make sure you come back in the new year for part 2. I will show you the finished one with it framed and everything, and up on their wall. But if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you want to see our future videos, hit that subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Oh, don't. All right, guys.